Hey y'all, welcome back to AYFKM. Are you fucking kidding me? I'm your host, Victoria Sharp, and I'm coming to you live on this Tuesday, October 15th, 2025. And baby, do we have some things to discuss? Now, I know some of y'all are tired. I know you're exhausted from the constant chaos, the constant lies, the constant disrespect to our intelligence. But see, that's exactly what they want. They want you tired. They want you to tune out. But we're not doing that today. We're not doing that ever. Because the truth matters, facts matter, reality matters. And when folks in positions of power start losing their grip on reality, and when the people who claim to be the future of a political party are exposed as racist, anti-Semitic extremists, we the people need to pay attention. So grab your coffee, your tea, or whatever you need to get through this, because we're about to dive deep into some deeply disturbing patterns, and I'm not pulling any punches. Let's start with what dropped just this morning. And it's not just concerning, it's absolutely disgusting. Politico obtained thousands of messages from a Telegram chat called Restore War Room. And y'all, these are young Republican leaders from across the country: New York, Kansas, Arizona, Vermont. The people who are supposed to be the future of the Republican Party. And what did they say in these private messages? They praised Hitler. They made jokes about gas chambers. They used the N-word over 251 times. They talked about slavery like it was a joke. One of them literally said, "I love Hitler." Another talked about bringing back slavery. They joked about rape, about violence, about using gas chambers for black people. Let me be clear. These aren't random trolls on the internet. These are leaders, state chairs, people who have been endorsed by Michael Whatley, the current RNC chairman. People who organize at the highest levels of youth Republican politics. Peter Junta from New York, he was described as the most prominent voice spreading racist messages in that chat. William Hendricks from Kansas, Alex Dwyer, also from Kansas. These are people who have access, who have power, who are being groomed for bigger positions. And when they got caught, the Kansas Young Republicans went inactive. Just shut down their operations. That's it. That's the accountability. No apologies, no denouncements from the people who elevated them. Just delete the evidence and pretend it didn't happen. Now, I can already hear some folks saying, "Oh, these are just young people being edgy. They didn't mean it." Stop, just stop. When you use the N-word 251 times in 7 months of chats, you meant it. When you praise Hitler, you meant it. When you joke about gas chambers for black people, about bringing back slavery, about rape and violence, you meant every single word. This isn't edgy. This isn't dark humor. This is who they are when they think nobody's watching. This is what the future of the Republican Party looks like when the mask comes off. And here's what really gets me. These same people, these same young Republicans, are out here organizing voter registration drives. They're knocking on doors. They're recruiting new members. They're being held up as examples of youth engagement in politics. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, they're fantasizing about genocide and slavery. Make it make sense. And where's the response? Where's Michael Whatley, who was praised and endorsed by Peter Junta? Where's the RNC? Where are all the Republicans who are always talking about family values and traditional morality? Silence, crickets, nothing. Because here's the truth. This isn't a bug in the system. This is a feature. When you build a political movement on racism, on white grievance, on demonizing immigrants and minorities, this is what you get. You get young people who feel emboldened to say the quiet part loud. You get future leaders who think Hitler had some good ideas. You get a party where using the N-word 251 times in a private chat is just Tuesday. And before anybody tries to both sides this, let me be clear. There is no equivalent on the left. None. Show me the leaked chats of young Democrats praising Stalin and using racial slurs. Show me the progressive youth leaders joking about genocide. You can't, because it doesn't exist. Now let's talk about something else that happened over the weekend because it's connected to all of this. At 12:38 in the morning, and let me repeat that, 12:38 in the morning, the President of the United States posted on his social media platform, "The Biden FBI placed 274 agents into the crowd on January 6th. y'all. January 6th happened while Donald Trump was president. Joe Biden didn't take office until January 20th, 2021. That's 14 days after January 6th. This is not complicated. This is basic timeline stuff. But Trump is out here literally forgetting that he was the president during one of the most significant attacks on our democracy in modern history. He's blaming Biden for something that happened under his own watch, with his own FBI, during his own presidency. If this were anyone else, if this were your grandfather, your neighbor, anybody, you'd be concerned. You'd be talking about cognitive decline. You'd be suggesting they need help. But because it's the President of the United States, we're supposed to just scroll past it, pretend it's normal? It's not normal. It's never been normal. And we need to stop acting like it is. And speaking of things that aren't normal, let's talk about what's happening this coming Saturday. October 18th, the No Kings protests. For those who don't know, the No Kings movement has been organizing massive nationwide protests against the Trump administration's authoritarian policies. The first one in June was potentially the largest protest in American history. And this Saturday, they're doing it again. Millions of Americans are expected to take to the streets in cities across the country. They're protesting the government shutdown. They're protesting the demolition of Medicare and Medicaid. They're protesting mass deportations. They're protesting the attacks on democracy itself. And what's the government's response? What's happening right now as we speak? Surveillance. Federal surveillance of protest organizers. Civil rights groups are having to put out guidance on digital security, on how to protect yourself from government tracking, on whether you should even bring your phone to a protest. Let that sink in. In America, in 2025, citizens exercising their First Amendment right to protest are having to worry about being tracked and surveilled by their own government. Now, some folks might say, well, the government has a right to maintain order. They need to know what's happening. And sure, there's a legitimate security interest in large gatherings. But let's be real about what's happening here. The Trump administration isn't just doing routine security monitoring. They're treating protesters, peaceful protesters exercising their constitutional rights, like they're terrorists. They're using surveillance technology to track, to intimidate, and to chill speech. They're sending a message. If you speak out against us, we're watching. And meanwhile, the young Republicans we talked about earlier, the ones praising Hitler and joking about gas chambers, they're not being surveilled. They're not being monitored. They're being protected. They're being elevated. They're being groomed for leadership. The contrast couldn't be starker. Peaceful protesters demanding accountability, treated like enemies of the state. Young fascists promoting racial violence, given a platform and a pathway to power. Now let me connect these dots for you, because this is all part of the same pattern. You've got a president who can't remember basic facts about his own presidency. You've got young Republican leaders openly embracing Nazi ideology and violent racism. You've got the federal government surveilling and intimidating peaceful protesters. You've got Kamala Harris, who holds no office, who has no power, being heckled and harassed at book signings by protesters who should be directing their energy at the people actually making policy. This is chaos. This is dysfunction. This is a democracy in crisis. And the scariest part? Half the country thinks this is fine. They'll defend the president's confusion as just a typo. They'll excuse the young Republicans' racism as boys being boys. They'll justify the surveillance of protesters as maintaining order. They'll blame Kamala Harris for policies she has no power to change. We're living in a moment where up is down, where black is white, where facts are optional and reality is negotiable. And if we don't snap out of it, if we don't start demanding better, demanding accountability, demanding basic competence and decency, we're going to lose this democracy. So what do? How do we fight back against this tide of insanity? First, we show up on Saturday. If there's a No Kings protest in your city, be there. Peacefully, safely, but be there. Exercise your First Amendment rights before they erode even further. Show this administration that we will not be intimidated. We will not be silenced. We will not sit by while they dismantle everything that makes this country great. Second, we demand accountability from Republican leadership. Where's the statement from the RNC denouncing these young Republican leaders? Where's the investigation? Where's the consequences? If Democrats had this kind of scandal, Republicans would be screaming from the rooftops. We need that same energy directed inward. We need Republicans with a conscience to stand up and say, this is not who we are. This is not acceptable. Third, we stop normalizing the president's cognitive issues. This isn't about being mean or ageist. This is about basic competence. If the president can't remember who was president during January 6th, that's a problem. A big problem. And pretending it's not won't make it go away. Let me talk for a minute to the young people listening. Because the young Republican scandal is really about you. It's about what kind of future you want, what kind of country you want to inherit. Those young Republican leaders in those chats, they're your age, they're your peers, and they're being groomed for power. In 10 years, 15 years, they could be your senators, your governors, your president. People who think Hitler had some good ideas, people who use racial slurs like punctuation, people who joke about genocide. Is that the future you want? Is that the America you want to live in? Because here's the thing. If good people stay silent, if you stay home, if you decide politics is too messy or too divisive or too exhausting, those young Republicans win. They get power by default. They inherit the country you were supposed to protect. So I'm asking you, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to register to vote? Are you going to organize? Are you going to show up on Saturday? Are you going to speak out when you see racism and anti-Semitism in your communities? Because neutrality isn't an option anymore. Silence is complicity, and the clock is ticking. Look, I know this episode has been heavy. I know it's a lot. But we're living in heavy times, y'all. We're living in times that demand we pay attention, that we stay engaged, that we fight back against the normalization of the abnormal. We've got a president who can't remember who was president during an insurrection. We've got Republican youth leaders celebrating Hitler and using racial slurs hundreds of times. We've got the federal government surveilling peaceful protesters. And we've got protesters misdirecting their energy at people who can't help them while ignoring the people who can. None of this is normal. None of this is okay. And all of it demands a response. So here's my challenge to everyone listening. Don't look away. Don't tune out. Don't let exhaustion become an excuse for inaction. Show up on Saturday. Demand accountability. Speak truth to power. Vote. Organize. Resist. Because if we don't, who will? If not now, when? The young Republicans in those leaked chats, they weren't worried about consequences. They thought they were safe. They thought nobody was watching. And they almost got away with it. But they didn't. Someone leaked those chats. Someone said, "Not on my watch." Someone decided that the truth needed to come out. We all need to be that someone, every single day, in every interaction, in every choice we make. The truth matters, y'all. Facts matter. Reality matters. And our willingness to fight for them will determine whether we still have a democracy in 10 years. So let's fight. Let's organize. Let's show up. And let's make damn sure that the future doesn't belong to people who think Hitler had some good ideas. That's all I've got for today. Stay informed, stay engaged, stay focused. And remember, when they think nobody's watching is when you learn who people really are. Those young Republicans showed us exactly who they are. Now let's show them who we are. I'll see y'all next time.